My Lords, I find myself in a slightly unusual place of presenting or tabling an amendment that I didn't actually have anything to do with, and I just signed up to support the noble lady Baroness Young on this, and about 10 minutes later she told me that she was withdrawing her name because she'd had an offer she couldn't refuse from the minister. And so I'm carrying on with the amendment because I think it is an exceptionally good one. But the fact is that the noble lady and the minister has already written to everybody saying that the Amendment 13 is one that the government will accept. But I do think it's worth just describing the difference between the two amendments, because I would say that Amendment 10 is a pretty good amendment and is something to work towards even if we don't have it accepted today. So there's three main differences between the two amendments. In Amendment 10, there is 6-month reporting versus the annual reporting in Amendment 13. There are indirect impacts explicitly mentioned in Amendment 10 versus no mention at all in Amendment 13. And there is a report by the Secretary of State to Parliament in Amendment 10 with a 4-week consultation period versus in Amendment 13, no consultation at all. So you can see these are quite these are quite big differences, although along the same lines. So I'll just describe them a little bit more. The six-month reporting versus the annual. Now, the 6-month reporting would obviously allow closer observation of exactly what is going on, and you could follow issues as they arise, as opposed to trying to mop them up possibly a year later. And it also allows lessons to be learned, which is not always easy, and it would allow those lessons to be learned quickly and before the same season of works starts the following year. Now, I think that would be quite a big bonus. And also it would be reporting to Parliament itself. On the indirect impact, HS2 Limited does not formally recognise indirect impacts of the development on ancient woodland. Now, I had to find out exactly what indirect impacts mean, but it is the sort of thing that would be near any construction site. So it'd be dust and debris and light and noise and that sort of thing. It's the sort of thing that nobody likes near them, human, animal, or insect or whatever. And in fact, it does have quite an impact on ancient woodland. It does disturb bats and nesting birds and all sorts of creatures that actually like the dark and thrive in the dark. Now, the ancient tree strategies contain lists of woods directly affected, but no such lists actually exist for those woods that HS2 considers to be indirectly affected. And the government's forestry policy document, Keepers of Time, explicitly recognises the need for indirect effects to be identified. For HS2 to not do this is very concerning. Furthermore, correspondence between HS2 and Natural England in 2014 clearly shows that Natural England considered HS2 Limited had failed to adequately assess the indirect impact of the scheme, the original scheme, on ancient woodland. And the Woodland Trust has kept lists of woods they consider to be indirectly affected, and they gave this information to HS2 Limited in every consultation response they've sent. And it allows a comparison of what is happening on the ground to what has been proposed by HS2. Now, current analysis shows that there are 10 ancient woodlands that will be directly affected by Phase 2A works, and a further ancient woodlands indirectly affected. So in Phase 1, there are about 29 in that category. And each of these woods has been assessed on a case-by-case basis and not by drawing an arbitrary line on the map, as HS2 Limited has done. And so sufficient clarity on this would enable further assessment of whether the project is actually proceeding to plan or whether it is in fact being more environmentally damaging than HS2 Limited is admitting. So by not publicly accepting that some ancient woodlands are impacted indirectly, it's impossible to have an open conversation with HS2 Limited about these woods and what measures they may put in place to ameliorate or minimise or eliminate the sort of damage that they might be doing. And this amendment, number 10, would enable that conversation to happen and clearly demonstrate the wider impact of this scheme on the natural environment and potentially on humans as well. And finally, the consultation period. A report to Parliament with a 4-week period would enable any new and troubling developments to be given an airing in order that they can be addressed and reported upon in further reports. And it would also provide an official mechanism for the centralised collection of public information about what works actually look like on the ground compared with what was written in the various environmental statements. At present, this information is gathered in an ad hoc fashion, making it difficult to obtain a clear and accurate picture. So overall, Amendment 10 is stricter and clearer, and I think much more likely to be accepted by the general public, who actually do worry about bats and nesting birds and insects. And they do worry about the impact that the dust and debris and the general construction mess has on their immediate environment and on ancient woodlands. My lords, I beg to move.